Your perspective is the gap between you and the world. Your schools of thought, your interpretations, they act as your guiding principles to the decisions you make every day. But what if those perceptions were getting in the way of who you were actually meant to become? What if there's a more holistic way to see life? Your life. I'm Gabrina Dane, and this is the Perspective Podcast. This is another week of the Perspective Podcast episode. And this week, we're going to have a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about maturity and what it means to have mental fortitude and to be mature. So, stick around for some interesting takes on how you can learn how to be more mature or the reality of maturity and the responsibilities that come with being mature. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is to break down the concept of maturity and what that actually means. To me, I think maturity is your ability to engage in deeper understanding about the world and about yourself and the part that you play in the environment that you exist in and how the relationships that you have between people and other circumstances also play a role in your life and the outcome of it. I believe maturity is not just that understanding, but also the willingness to take action based on your better judgment. So it's not just understanding something, but implementing it in your life, you know? So maturity is really just the fruit of mental fortitude. And to me, what that means is sometimes we mature because of difficult situations that force us to be very strong mentally in order to cope or overcome the situation. We are humbled in the sense that we realize the world is no longer a place that serves us, but we are here to serve the world instead. The easiest example is a child and adult when they don't get what they want and how they react to that, right? Even though some adults probably still react like that. But the thing is, if you're going to a supermarket or say a parent and their child, toddler, going to the supermarket and they're passing on an aisle of snacks or toys and the kid wants to pick up a snack or wants a toy and the parent says no, whether it's because the child already has toys in the, basket carrying already and the parent decides that you can come back and get it later, but as of now you have enough. Or it could be a case where they just physically cannot purchase more because of a budget or whatever reason that they cannot get what they want. The child being immature, you would expect them to throw a tantrum, embarrass all the parents in the supermarket. The parent can decide how they're going to handle that afterwards. But the fact is that that was the child's response to not getting what they wanted. Whether it was a good enough reason or not, in fact, they don't care for the reason. They just know that they can't get it and they don't like that. Very simple-minded. As an adult, you grow to understand that not all the time you can get what you want in that very moment for whatever limitation that may exist at that present time, whether it's financial or just literally physically not possible, or it's just not the right time for it. So you realize the more you understand that that's how life is, it's the more you are less likely to react that way. Why? Because the bridge between then and now is understanding. That understanding did not exist as a toddler, but when you were older, you have the understanding now that there are things that are just bigger than you. So it's understanding how the world is aligned with itself and the entire universe and its entire existence, and being comfortable with knowing that regardless of the outcome of anything, something is matching up to something. It's not out of coincidence, it's not by random, but it's for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And when you understand that, you are able to let the idea of not having it go without it bothering you too much, to the point where you feel like you want to throw a tantrum. Of course, it depends on what it is. Some things are greater than some. Some things are of greater significance than a toy, you know? But the toy meant everything to the kids. So, in a sense, you could say it's more or less the same, parallel. But we do, at times, even as mature as we are disappointed and sometimes act on that disappointment, but it doesn't mean that you're immature. Being immature is refusing to understand that there are things that are outside of you and outside of your control that is within your grasp to change or to possess. Maturity is letting go of that control and then allowing that to guide your next steps in how you react to not being able to control something. So you could say then maturity is a fruit of mental fortitude, because when you're experiencing that situation of something being outside of your control, but you just have to deal with it, you realize that the more drastic the situation is, the more mental fortitude that it will call you to have, to be able to overcome it, to be able to cope with it, to be able to solve it. You need it. And upon using or forcing yourself to have that fortitude mentally, it bursts the mature side of you. Because having an immature reaction to things is fruitless. However, having a mature response to your life and its environment and the things that happen around you is fruitful. It's fruitful because you're able to overcome the situation quicker. You're able to cope much better with what's going on, or you're able to find creative ways outside of how you feel emotionally to actually solve the problem and get it out of your way. So being mature is the only way to progress. It is. And so it's very, very important that you develop and embrace the challenges that come with developing maturity and mental fortitude. And we're going to talk about why that's important, even though we kind of touched on it. So this is very, very important, because not being mature enough in your environments can close doors for you, or cause doors that could have otherwise been open to stay shut. This could range from a career opportunity to a relationship to a friendship to any experience that would have had a great, significantly positive impact on your life. And being able to be mature also allows you to not just explore the world around you, but explore the depths of yourself. There was this quote that I read the other day. I might not get it word for word, but In essence, it was saying someone can only know you by the depths of which they have known themselves first. So that means you have to dig deep to do that mature self work and really discover all the facets of your being and your personality and how it came to be so that you can have a better appreciation for the human experience and the human life and just humanity overall. And understanding that about yourself, you'll realize that a lot of people are of the same nature because we're all humans. And so you're able to understand other people much better. And being able to understand people is always a plus and is always needed, especially in these times when everyone seems to be more and more out of touch with themselves or have bad intentions, you know? So you are able to understand or pick up on things that isn't necessarily said or pointed out for you. You're able to understand on a much deeper level someone's intentions or someone's relationship with themselves just by observing the way that they do things, the way that they speak, the way that they handle certain situations. Interpreting correctly is a very important aspect of maturing because while you mature, you're open to that understanding. You're open to receiving that wisdom. You're open to hearing what your intuition or the Holy Spirit has to say. You're open to all the signals, said and unsaid, energy, vibrations, whatever. You are open to interpreting all of those and understanding them correctly just by realizing that the world is much bigger than you and there's much more to the world than just what you want or what pleases you. Persons who are only thinking about what pleases them or what they want or the things that they're demanding of life without considering others through that process have a very immature mindset. Very narcissistic some of the time too, without even, intentionally trying. But it's because of that high level of selfishness. And selfishness is on a scale because there is a part of selfishness that is very needed when it comes to knowing what you want and being able to go after what it is that you want. But where selfishness can become harmful or unhealthy is when it comes at the expense of someone else's well-being and not by virtue of the person refusing to allow you the space to have what you need in a caring way, but more so having to literally put someone else at an actual disadvantage when you could have otherwise avoided that, Really, what I'm saying is that most of the time you realize that one quality trait will lead to another just by virtue of being selfish opens the door for immaturity. Immaturity opens the door for ignorance. Ignorance can open the door for a lot of other issues. And so it's just about guarding your heart and guarding your intentions at all costs because maturity is just a step in the right direction. Seeking to be more informed, seeking to be more intellectual, emotionally, and about anything else concerning yourself and the world. It's about seeking a greater knowledge that exists out there for you to grasp so that you can then act on that knowledge to make this world that we all live in a better place to live in. Yeah, that's why being mature is important. And It's vital to the development of our spaces. It's vital to even the development of the people around us. And there's another thing I wanted to touch on in terms of your relationships as you grow into maturity. If you realize that you are on the brink of exploring that new facet of, life that you haven't explored beyond its shallow depths that you've been exposed to, and you're becoming more mature as you learn these things and wanting to grow and do better in your life, you might realize that there are a lot of other people who are around you that haven't gotten to that stage yet. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's understandable. Why? Because you were just coming from there. Everyone was coming from there. Everyone has been there. Some mature earlier than others, but everyone's opportunity can come at a different time. And other people's opportunity sometimes come through other people. So sometimes when we grow in maturity that way, it is now our responsibility to allow the people around us to also be able to evolve in like manner. But a lot of us think of it as a step or a rank that's going upwards. You're once at a place of ignorance here, and now you have become more aware about certain things. So now you have left this level of ignorance to this level of, we're all still ignorant about something, but you have left this level of awareness then to this level of awareness. And then something can happen that can birth a new sense of awareness to you. You become more aware again. And though it can be seen as a level like that, it can be harmful when you think of it that way, simply because you think that just because someone else hasn't gotten that chance yet to dig deep and to realize certain things that you have already realized, you look at them as dumb and foolish and stupid. Like, truthfully though, the more aware you get about certain things is the more you realize the ignorance that's around you. That's just a fact. There's no going around that. That will happen. It has to happen. You know what I'm saying? But the issue is when you think that just because you are no more intellectual about something, it makes others less than you, less valuable than you. No. Remember, more than anything else, it's a journey for everyone. So instead of thinking about climbing the ladder like that, like it's a corporate ladder or something, think about it as steps from here, this point of the journey, to this point of the journey, then this point of the journey, then this point of the journey. It's not a case where you are higher or better than anyone. You're just further in that journey. You have the responsibility to inform those who are around you so they can catch up, so they can also evolve on that journey with you. And honestly, I know that a lot of people don't take the time to do that because it's very difficult. Teaching itself is a very difficult task because it calls for you to be very patient and very gracious. And a lot of us don't have that. A lot of us don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? So think of it as an opportunity to unlock another level of awareness by forcing yourself to be more patient with others, to be more gracious, to learn how to break down things that might seem complex to something simple. That's a skill. That's a skill that's going to come in handy for you. I promise it will. And so don't shun away from the opportunity, and don't be quick to look down on other people. Don't be quick to bash other people or criticize them just because you think, you have a better understanding of something than they do. Oftentimes, when we approach maturing and growing in that sense, we're often the most ignorant. Yeah, it's true. Like, arrogance makes you ignorant. It really does. It does. Because when you're too arrogant to learn, that's when wisdom stops at your door. Okay? Wisdom doesn't enter the door because you don't let it in. Because you're thinking, just because the clock is broken, it can't be right. It's right at least twice for the day for your information. So those two times when the broken clock was right, you could have actually, hear it out sometimes. Information and growing and wisdom comes from everything and anywhere. And if you're not open enough to accept that, to hear the truth in everything that you encounter instead of the lie first, then your level of growth will be significantly hindered. It will just be a delusion in your mind then what your level of growth actually is because of your arrogance and not the reality of the fact that there is still so much for you to learn about life and the human experience and what it actually means when we relate to each other. So don't take for granted that because you went through something or you think that you're more mature because you have so many experience in so many different areas of life. There's always something for you to learn and someone for you to learn from because all of our experiences are different. Every single one of us. And we all have something to learn from each other. Maturing is knowing that you can still listen regardless of who is speaking. Listening is another fruit that is produced from maturity. Seeking wisdom is the beginning of that step of maturity. From that, all the fruits will bear. All the fruits, patience, love, kindness, it will all bear. And so a lot of people are lacking that sense of maturity, and this is why we find conflict resolution to be such a difficult thing. Nowadays, it seems like no conflict can ever be resolved these days because we lack the understanding of each other and of ourselves. So we're not able to approach a difficult situation in a very mature way to produce that desired outcome simply because we lack the work that was to be done between ourselves and no one, just between us. And then it's just showing in our relationships and it's showing in everyone that we come across and interact with. It shows. There's another thing I want to speak on, and it's the illusion of maturity that's not really there because people describe maturity or their relationship with maturity is different. A lot of the times, people will think they're mature just because they're reserved in the company they keep, they're reserved in the people they choose to hang out with and the places they go with them. They're reserved and very selective, or just say they're very picky with the advice that they take. They're very picky with the people they stay around. They're very picky with where they go. It's not always coming from a place of maturity. Those things can also come from a place of arrogance in thinking that you are better than these spaces or these interactions, so you don't engage. Or it could also be the exact opposite. You don't engage, you don't interact, you don't say much simply because you don't know much. You know what I'm saying? People think that being reserved automatically means that you're mature. It doesn't. Maturity is much deeper than that. Maturity is much deeper than that. If anything, maturity is in the quiet moments when no one is seeing you, when no one is there to bear witness. Maturity is more of what are the decisions that you make when it's difficult, under pressure, causing you to be emotional. What are the decisions that you make under those circumstances? That's more of how you can tell truthfully if someone is mature or not. How they react to a difficult situation. And if you find that you're always justifying a wrong decision you make without holding yourself accountable first, as a matter of fact, don't justify the wrong decision, none at all. If you are unable to admit that you were wrong without justifying yourself even a bit, saying, yeah, I know I shouldn't have done XYZ, but if you're unable to do that, don't even consider yourself mature. If you can't do that, don't consider yourself mature at all. That's the most painful thing to do, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. Because realizing that you have gone wrong and no one is to blame but you, because it was your doing, it was your response, your actions, your words, regardless of what caused you to do it, it's a hard pill to swallow. It really is. But if you are able to accept that and hold accountability for yourself, even if it means that you'll have some kind of punishment to bear later, or if you'll be looked on at a certain way by some people, regardless of the outcome, you are able to hold to your accountability and accept that you were wrong. Congratulations. You are mature. No, it's a continuous process. It doesn't stop there. It now calls you, if you really are mature, to implement that, what you have learned from that situation. Ensure that by any means necessary, as best as you possibly and humanly can, you don't allow the situation to happen to you again. Of course, there are situations where we do something and we know that it wasn't the right thing to do and we do it again anyway, but it really is just you delay that growth sometimes because you aren't ready to change. I know. I know. But if you really want to reach where you know you need to get in this here life here, that is so short and uncertain, you wouldn't let that mistake or old habit hold you in its grip for too long. You don't have time for that. You don't. It's okay to make mistakes and stuff. I'm not saying that you shouldn't make mistakes. I'm not saying that it won't happen where you're trying to unlearn things and learn new things and build new habits and you slip up. I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm saying intentionally deciding not to hold yourself accountable and keep making excuses for yourself is not maturing you, and it's not going to allow you to excel and progress in the way that you need to. The only thing is holding you back is you. It's no one else. And the sooner you accept that, is the sooner you'll be able to accept where you went wrong and move on. Simple, really. Now, going through these things can take a very, mental toll on you, which is why mental fortitude is extremely important. Because if you're not a soldier in a this, life kick you down, backs you down. When you lie down on the floor, still I kick you. Trust me. Honestly, like, mental fortitude is not for anyone else's sake, but your sake first. And if you have any dependents that's depending on you to be strong, that's even worse. But first, you. Because without you, your dependents are nothing. So you need to develop your mental fortitude just for the sake of staying sane in this crazy place. It's just to stay sane, keep you focused, keep you on track with who you know yourself to be, and keep yourself on track with the path that you go down in life to ensure that you go down the path you want to go down, and not on a path that life push you on. You have to stand up firm. You have to 10 toes down, not just in your relationships, but in life overall. When you are shot with disappointments left, right, and center, rejections from here and there and there, feeling like you're not good enough, Pastor syndrome is taking over, you're doing a lot of things and you're not seeing the progress, all of these things and so many other things that can really affect you mentally is where the fortitude would need to come in. Because it's okay to feel these types of ways. It's okay to actually just take your time and allow yourself to sit with these emotions sometimes, acknowledge them and feel them. Because it's a part of the human experience. You have to allow yourself to feel these things, but you will not allow yourself to let these things direct the path that your life goes down. You're not going to give them that power. And so how you take your power back is through your fortitude mentally. Getting back on your game and reminding yourself, affirming yourself, anything that you need to do to realize that this is temporary and it will pass, and I have to make it out of this so I can become this, I can achieve this, I can be here for who and who. Whatever you need to get yourself back on track, that's where your mental fortitude will come in most handy, most important to you. And so building that can only come through going through these things in the first place. If you're not going through anything to challenge you mentally, there's no opportunity for growth. There's no reason to build a fortitude. There's no way you can build. All right, hear me out now. I'm going to try to draw an analogy. I hope this analogy makes sense. When you are building defensive armor against the attacks of an enemy, you don't just build it with whatever is laying around. You can't do that, right? No. You have to understand the attacks. The attacks have to happen first. Sorry about that. The attacks have to happen first. You have to know what the weapons are like. You have to know what they're coming with, what have attacked you in the past, and how you can then use your past knowledge in how you were injured probably previously, or merely just by studying or analyzing the strategies that they used to attack, so that then you can go ahead and build something in defense of that in a magnitude that will either match or surpass how the enemy is going to come with their attack. You understand? So it wouldn't make sense. You're not going to make a board chest plate if you know that your enemy is coming with a metal sword. You're going to think, what can combat metal? What can stop the metal from piercing any part of my body? The answer is often the same material. Sometimes it's something like the same material, but much more developed, much more enhanced, much more fortified, because it's easy to fight fire with fire in the sense that in your defense, you use what was attacked back to you. But the important part of defending your mind, your heart, your energy, protecting that is trying your best to predict future attacks and new and advanced ways that you will be attacked, so that when they come, you're not taken by too much of a surprise, or if you take a blow, you aren't, suffering for too long, or you aren't injured as much as how you would have otherwise been if you hadn't taken the time to refine that armor in a way that would not only prevent past attacks, but prevent attacks that look anything like, any form or any shape or any other way that these attacks might come. You understand? So that's what mental fortitude does. And that's the only way you can develop that fortitude or protection, if you use your past experiences and others' experiences even to build that armor around you. All of this might sound extremely difficult and probably like it doesn't seem like it's worth the work to some of you, but honestly, the attacks are gonna come anyway. Regardless if you want to prepare for it or not, life is going to come with something. We are gonna drape you up. So it's either you go prepare yourself for it or you just gonna have life happen to you. And I'm sure you don't want that. If you have a purpose for your life, if you want your life to look like something very specific, if you want to ensure you protect that fulfilling dream that you have, or you protect the fulfillment you feel every day, you have to develop some sort of defense for the attacks that will come to you. And this can only be done through just reflecting on yourself and on life first before anything else. Before you seek information anywhere outside of yourself, first seek it inside of you. That intuition I was talking about, the Holy Spirit, a lot of people don't listen to that voice. But no one else, no pharmacist, no podcaster, no YouTuber, no one on the internet will know what's right for you except you. And so you have to know what your current circumstances are and what do you have to deal with now? What do you have working with now? What place are you in your life right now, mentally, financially, emotionally, everything? And what do you need from that specific point to get to the next point? That's what you need to do. Life is extremely hectic because I understand for most of us, we might not have the time, we work, we can only find so much time to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? If you're younger, you're on a holiday right now, while you're partying, ensure that you're doing the work that matters at the same time. So that you're not at the back of the bus when life ready to drive off and take on the pedal, and you lick up head pan the gas, and you jump in a pothole so blap, and you just turn over by your head top. You have to hold on, strap up a seatbelt, tie down yourself, get one cushion if you need the cushion, hold on, penny, sitting way up there. So whatever you need to do, you have to prepare before it takes off. You don't know when this shit's gonna take off. It could take off in a good way. It could take off in a bad way. But regardless of what direction life goes down, growth has challenges and difficulties have growth. So regardless of whether it's good or regardless of whether it's bad, there will be something in that point of change or shifting your life from one stage to another, moving from one place to another place. The change itself is going to be difficult. And there are lots of things that you're going to need to address with yourself. Why not just do it when you have the time and you're not overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff that's going to distract you and honestly just deteriorate your mental health without building that fortitude first. So, yeah, I would implore you to not only use your time to think about really who you are and what you want out of this life and how you are going to combat some of the struggles you have even within yourself and then outside of you. Write them down. Write down what you will need to hear in those times prematurely. Write it down so that you have it. Because when we're going through these things, a lot of the time, it's not easy for us to decide that we're going to do self-reflecting today. Yeah, more why you don't want to see nobody, you don't want to see nothing, you don't want to do nothing. Most of we just want to sleep, disappear, be left alone. Even by ourselves, just be left alone. So you know what your responses are like when you go through certain stresses. Think of that and prepare yourself for if you ever revisit your lowest mental place that you have ever been, if you ever revisit that, what are some things that you remember you responded to and had the greatest impact on you that you can prepare for to get yourself back out of that hole, to remind yourself of days like these that were much more easygoing, brighter days that you probably experienced after or are experiencing right now. Do yourself that favor. I want to know though, what's your favorite way to cope mentally? A lot of us, I know, we have a lot of toxic or unhealthy coping mechanisms, but just let me know, like, honestly, I'm running out of coping mechanisms these days. I need some. God knows I need some more. And I tell y'all, journal. Do something that just makes you feel more like yourself. Whatever it looks like. However extravagant, however small, however explorative, however creative, however impulsive in a good way. Please. However impulsive in a good way. Get up one day and just drive go down a beach if you go to the beach, like whatever it is. Sometimes I remember at one point, I used to pass Negril every day to get to work, and I remember I was just not feeling myself for the past couple of weeks, just out of it, man. Forcing myself to go to work and everything. And one day I tell myself, say, I can just stop, carry some bathing suit with me one morning, left out a little bit earlier, like me wake up, because I have something to look forward to now besides just work. And just go to the beach with my bathsuit and everything and go in our water, and I'll figure out the rest later. Like, carry me towel and everything, change back and go, like, or we do it when we come back home. So when we leave work as early as I can. We drive as, not as quickly as I can, but as safely in a quick way. And just pull over, go to the beach. When the sun has set or when it's so finished set, me just drive, come back home. Like, you have to find ways to make time for yourself like that. And maybe that's not possible for everybody, but you can find a way that works for you. You really can. I have a friend, she just pull up beside the water and watch it set. And I can honestly see how mentally relieving that is. Whatever you have to do, make time for your health, man. Make time for your mental health. Someone said, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And man, trust me, I am unable to unhear that. Every single time I realize I'm choosing between whatever seems extremely important at the moment and my health, wealth, like my wealth in terms of health and not money necessarily. But even if I'm asleep, I'm realize I'm reached the point I almost burnout or something. And I realize at this point, I'm gonna have to choose to either force myself to push through this for the rest of the night or whatever, or make in bed. Sometimes me choose to just go on my bed. Me not dead. Me not lose my work. Me dey here. All is well. The world moved on. It worked itself out. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't have to sit down and try and make up a whole strategy for your rest. Just go on in that bed, brother. You're tired. You actually work yourself to the bone. Or even if you're not work yourself to the bone physically, perhaps some of you are just so mentally overwhelmed and overstimulated and exhausted. Put on your phone, blood. Put it down. Just go take a nap. I promise you, after you wake up from the nap there, all of a sudden, everything seems much more possible. Like you just get a surge of, oh my God, why was I so overwhelmed? You know what I'm saying? It becomes easier for you to recharge and then go back. This is what you need to realize. Forcing yourself to go through something just so you can finish it for the sake of time isn't always an even exchange. if it means it's costing your health, because it's going to take a longer time for you to recuperate, rather than if you pace yourself and you just, yes, it might take a little bit longer than you wanted to, but at least you'll be intact mentally. And you never know. Life is so funny. It has this thing where anytime you're going through something extremely stressful at the time, and you decide that you're going to try to tough it out and go through it, that's exactly when something pops up and makes everything just 10 times worse. Maybe not one thing, maybe 2 or 3 things. It just pop right up. And then you didn't take the time before. You didn't choose your health, your rest, your peace before, because you thought this is the only thing you had to deal with, until other things just pop up at the randomest places. The most random. Just pretend you never hear that. Things just pop up out of the most random places. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have to find the time and energy and resources that you didn't have in the first place, and resolve whatever issue or overcome whatever just happened to you. I'm telling you, it's never a bad time to choose you. Listen to your body, listen to your intuition. Your mind tell you, say, you think you just need to stop. No, just stop. Just stop. Please just stop. It also ties into making sure that you're managing your time wisely. A lot of us don't have good time management skills, truthfully. I'm one of those people too. But if you are able to make those decisions in those times when it matters the most, to just focus, and then other times to just leave things as they are, take a break and then come back, it will be okay. Like, having good time management skills doesn't necessarily mean that your entire life in every single facet is extremely organized and well planned out and well executed exactly how you planned it to execute. It doesn't mean that, because honestly, things always happen at random, and you're forced to adapt or change to whatever changes take place around you. So just managing your time wisely means that if you are going to decide to choose yourself right now and go take a nap, then just know that if you really had something to do or to choose between, and that thing still has to get done, you can't ignore it, then make sure you set a time to get back up and continue, and hyper focus on what it is that you have to do. Don't get distracted and get it done. But if you don't do that, you're just going to burn yourself out continuously, over and over and over. Trust me, burnout analyze something. I'm sure you know this. And there are burnouts that last for months, and sometimes even years. You just never immediately, your body just doesn't, or your mind doesn't immediately come back from a period of extreme, you working on fire, you doing this and that and that and that, without taking any time, sufficient time for you. Living like you're on fire for a whole 2, 3, 4 months going straight, 6 months, everything, even more than that, some of us. Your body is going to take much longer to recuperate from all of that. And so you're going to have to be forced to find the time or delay certain things that you could have otherwise done if you were in the mental space to do it. But because you aren't, and you get so tired or overwhelmed easily, or whatever burnout looks like for you, you now have to sit and be patient with yourself for a very, very extensive period of time. Just because you weren't able to realize when you needed to take a break and take it before it got to this point. You don't want that. You also need your energy to have fun, You also need your energy to have proactive and intentional time with yourself, with the people that surround you, with the things that actually matter. As de-stressing and relieving those activities or those things can be, it still takes energy. If it's a road trip, you still have to drive. You get me? If you're gonna go to a small island, you're still gonna have to go through the energy of planning and packing and, you know, scheduling places to go or reserving places, doing a research, all of that, buying stuff. It's still gonna take energy. Regardless of what it is, it's going to take energy. So you need the energy to do the things that you need to do. You also need energy to do the things that you want to do. But just remember, like, even though energy cannot be created or destroyed, we don't have unlimited mechanical energy. And that's what you need to realize. You don't. You really don't. You're just a human being. You can only do so much. You are capable and you do have everything that is within you to accomplish what you need. But you have to realize you can't use up all the resources inside you at once. It doesn't work like that. For those of you who have recently probably gone through a phase in your life where you have embarked on a new dimension of awareness, then you can say that. Because it just feels like you step into a new dimension sometimes when you unlock a certain level of awareness because of something that you went through or whatever it was that sparked that understanding and encouraged you to dig deeper. But for those of you who might have recently gone through that, leave some advice for those who haven't. Almost as if you were telling your past, more ignorant self about certain things that they were yet to understand or were confused about. Give some advice for those who are still in that space of, probably confusion right before that sense of awareness actually takes place. And that place of enlightenment then, not awareness. Because if you're confused, it also can mean that you're very aware. You're aware of the things that you don't know, even though you don't know what they are. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. But I'm just asking, just leave some enlightening words to those who might not yet have overcome that point in their life where they've made it out of that confusing space or confusing time, and let them know that it's not the end of the world and life really does go on, and it goes on beautifully. It sings on, dances on. Perhaps you might have just recently overcame a rough patch. You can share that with us if you don't mind, and just let us know, how you overcame that rough patch and what that rough patch has taught you and how that has positively changed your life for the better. Because honestly, some of us just really need to hear these stories so that we can not feel alone. But thank you so much for listening. If you have your own understanding of what maturity means and what mental fortitude means, you can also drop that in the comments. Feel free to, interact and just share your perspectives. This is my perspective, but I am very open to everyone's perspective, and I can't wait to host all of your ideas and all of your perspectives on this podcast with me, because we're in this together. This is not about me. It's about building a holistic view on life and on your life so that you can tap into potential and make it a reality that is within you. So thank you so much for listening. I am so happy to have done a second episode. I just get more and more excited every single episode. And I just can't wait to grow this family with all of you. Feel free to also check us out on Instagram and TikTok. If you're listening on YouTube, you can head over to Spotify and leave a 5-star rating for this podcast. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can jump over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel and come see me face to face and leave a comment and say, hey girl, you look gorgeous today, because I know. Anyway, I'm trolling, but and remember, you can email me your dilemmas and just let me know what are some things you want to shed some light on for this podcast, and I will respond to your questions and respond to any concerns that you have about anything. So, yeah, make sure that you stay tuned for the next episode in the next 2 weeks. Peace out.